Every country around it fell. Burma, Malaya, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, Indonesia, the Philippines, all of them.
One kingdom in the middle never signed a single act of surrender, and the way it survived had almost nothing to do with fighting.
Things you've never seen. Now revealed.
This is Destinations in Detail.
120,000 square kilometers. That is roughly the size of England, and it is what this country handed over, piece by piece, to two European empires. It sounds like the story of a nation being carved up and swallowed. It isn't. It's the opposite. Siam, the country we now call Thailand, gave away all of that land precisely so it would never be colonized. And it worked. While Burma, Malaya, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, Indonesia, and the Philippines all fell under European or American rule, Siam remained the only country in Southeast Asia that never signed a single act of surrender. It had no navy to face the Royal Navy, no army to face France, no money for a long war. Tonight, how a small kingdom bought its own freedom, and what that purchase actually cost.
It's worth starting there, because you almost certainly know Thailand for something else entirely. The beaches, the golden temples, the street food, the islands you've seen in films, one of the most visited countries on Earth. But there's a detail that almost no traveler notices when they land in Bangkok. Nobody there speaks a colonizer's language. There is no official English as in Malaysia, no French as in Vietnam, no Dutch as in Indonesia. The language is Thai, the alphabet is Thai, and the culture followed its own path without interruption. That is not a coincidence. It is the direct result of the story you're about to hear.
So look at the map at the end of the 19th century. Britain is pushing east through Burma and down through Malaya. France is pushing west through Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia. And Siam is sitting directly between them, in the jaws of both. To any observer at the time, it was simply a matter of when, not if. And the first demand arrived in 1855, when a British envoy named John Bowring, who was also the governor of Hong Kong, sailed into Bangkok with a very simple message. Open your markets, or we settle this with gunboats. It wasn't a negotiation. It was a warning, and everyone involved understood it.
And King Mongkut made a decision many at the time considered humiliating. He chose trade. On the 18th of April, 1855, he signed the Bowring Treaty. And look at what that document gave away. The end of the royal trade monopolies, import duties frozen at 3%, and one particularly heavy clause called extraterritoriality. It meant that a British subject who committed a crime inside Siam would not be tried under Siamese law. He would be tried under British law. In other words, inside his own kingdom, the king had no legal authority over a whole class of people living there. It stung so badly that removing that clause became the single greatest goal of Thai policy for the next half-century, and the treaty became a template. The other powers arrived, asking for exactly the same terms.
At this point, you might reasonably ask, isn't that essentially being a colony anyway? It's a fair question, and we're going to answer it, because what came after that treaty were three genuinely brilliant moves, the kind that anyone who has ever had to negotiate from a weak position will recognize instantly. But hold on to one thing first. While Siam was conceding on paper, it was also changing internally in a way nobody expected.
The first move was recognizing something neither empire would say out loud. Neither London nor Paris actually wanted to share a border with the other. Think about the problem. If Britain took Siam, Britain would suddenly have a direct frontier with France in Asia, and every minor incident there would become a crisis between the two most powerful nations on the planet. The same was true in reverse. So without ever admitting it publicly, both arrived at the same conclusion. A neutral country in between was far more convenient. And Siam understood this and began selling itself as exactly that, the safe zone between two giants. In 1896, Britain and France signed a joint declaration formally recognizing it. Notice the inversion. The rivalry between two empires became the insurance policy of one small kingdom.
The second move was even more refined, and I'll admit this one impressed me. Siam decided, deliberately, never to anchor itself to a single power. So look at how it staffed its own court. The military advisors were Danish, the legal experts were Belgian, The engineers who built the railways were German. The financial consultants were British, each branch of government run with expertise from a different nation. And the logic was simple. Whenever one power started pressing too hard, Siam invited in more advisors from that power's rival. Nobody could become indispensable, because nobody owned anything alone. It is pure balance. And that same principle still runs through Thai foreign policy today. A treaty ally of the United States, a major trading partner of China, an active member of ASEAN, all at once.
And the third move was the deepest of all, removing the excuse from the table. Because the justification empires used for colonization was always the same, that these people were incapable of governing themselves, that they were backward, that they needed to be civilized. So, King Chulalongkorn, who took the throne in 1868, went and dismantled that excuse piece by piece. He abolished slavery. He centralized tax collection. He built a national education system. He reformed the courts, the civil service, and the army along European lines. So when Europeans looked at Siam, they no longer saw what they wanted to see. They saw an organized state with laws, schools, and railways. And it becomes very hard to explain to the world why you need to invade that.
But here is the part that is almost never told, and it's what keeps this from being a fairy tale. None of it was free. In 1893, France staged a military incident at Pak Nam, sailed gunboats up the river to Bangkok, and delivered an ultimatum. Siam handed over all the territory east of the Mekong, what is now Laos, specifically to avoid becoming a protectorate. In 1907, it handed over Inner Cambodia, including the region around Angkor, and in 1909, it handed 4 provinces to Britain, today part of Malaysia, receiving in return the end of that extraterritoriality clause and a loan to build a railway in the south. Add it all up, and you reach roughly 120,000 square kilometers. Siam bought its independence with pieces of its own body.
Which brings us to the question that matters. Was it worth it? Look at what survived. The Thai language was never replaced. The religion, the festivals, the architecture, and the arts kept evolving without interruption, with no foreign power rewriting the calendar or the schools. No colonial language was imposed. No foreign administration governed from within. While almost every neighbor spent decades after independence rebuilding a national identity that had been overwritten, Siam never had to rebuild anything because it was never interrupted in the first place. And in 1939, the country changed its name. Siam became Thailand, a name that carries, in its own origin, the idea of a land of the free.
And that's why this episode opens our series. Because when you land in Bangkok today and find that everything there feels different from everything around it, the explanation isn't in the food or the weather. It's in a chess game that ran for more than 50 years, from 1855 to 1909, played by people who knew perfectly well they could never win by force. Historians at Cambridge even have a name for it: buffer diplomacy. And it leaves a lesson that reaches far beyond the story of one country. Sometimes surviving isn't about being the strongest at the table. It's about becoming more useful, alive, than conquered. That's why we look at the places of this world in detail.
Tell me in the comments, did you know Thailand was never colonized? And which country would you like us to take apart like this next? Write it below, I read them all. If you enjoyed this, leave a like and subscribe. It's what helps this channel grow. And don't miss the next episode of the Thailand series, where we step into the most chaotic and most intelligent traffic you've ever seen, and find out why there is no bus system like the one you know. See you there.